everybody. Welcome to this week's episode of Spiritual Spiral. Thank you all, first of all, for tuning in every week, for your comments. We really, really appreciate it. This week, I am so excited because we have Cindy Vega on, who is a medium and psychic, and she also is Khalees Simone's co-host for their own podcast they have called Third Eyed Mind. I am your host, Sam Davidson, and this is Sari Cohen. How are you guys doing this week?
I'm doing well.
Yeah, it's been a crazy few days all over the country. Me and Sari are in Los Angeles, Cindy's in New York. So first of all, our thoughts are with everybody right now. It's a really difficult time for so many different people, and I have been getting really stressed out. I'm very empathic, and I feel like I pick up on people's energy really, really easily, so it can make me kind of kooky. So before we get into all the interesting topics we're going to talk about, Cindy, I just want to know, like, your perspective. How do people not, especially empaths, how do they not get as affected by this? How do they not let fear take over and make them anxious like I am right now?
I know. That's a really, really great question. When it comes to empaths, you're like a sponge. So you really do soak up a lot of energy, whether it's people, whether it's situations. You really have to kind of get to that position where you can start, I want to say, like, differentiating, like, is this mine or is this someone else's? And I know a lot of empaths, they struggle through that. I've struggled through that because I also am an empath as well. I know what works for me mainly, and I know you've probably heard this 100 times, but meditation truly does work when it comes to anxiety, when it comes to stress, the fear that may build up within you. That actually helps align you better, actually helps with calming you down, brings in a lot of perspective, a lot of clarity, because it really does come as well, like fearful thoughts where, they kind of run in your mind. And you take it and make it bigger than what it really is. So it really does, it's really up to you on, how you want to approach it, how you want to take the time to approach your fear.
Yeah, absolutely. How have you been feeling, Sari?
It's the same. I think it's amazing that people are surprised that this is happening. I feel like I'm an energy-based person, and I'm also, I'm very similar to Sam in that respect. But I've been saying, for the past 4 years, all we've heard is hate and divisiveness, hate and divisiveness, hate and divisiveness. So the fact that this is erupting now, Trevor Noah actually just posted this really great thing where he's like, it's like a domino effect. So I'm surprised that people are surprised. I think this has been a long time coming. I think it's been a culmination of everything. I'm feeling that energy, but it's hard. Everybody's doing what they can right now, no matter where they are in the world. I think that's kind of, my gauge on things.
And Cindy, how do your gifts, really work and come into play? Because I know every medium, every psychic, they have a different way of how they connect. And, I've listened to, I'm pretty sure, like, every episode of your podcast. I'm a big fan of it. And so I know that, your way of connecting is a little bit different from Khalees's, and, everyone has a different way. So, when you're trying to tap into talking to somebody from the other side, how do you do that? Because I know you've said before that, like, you don't really like to see them.
No.
So how does that work?
I think what people fairly may not understand is spirit really is, like, whether it's someone that was here that transitioned, or you have a spirit guide, someone on the other side, but you can still have conversation with them the way that I'm conversing with you right now. So you and I having a conversation. So for me, I know that they listen. They really do listen. So if you're someone who is like me, that doesn't like to see them, and I want to say that it's not that I don't see them at times, but there's many times that I don't. Like, I don't want them to fully appear in front of me, or anything like that. And I know it takes a lot of energy for them to do that. But at the same time, I will ask them, like, I'm really afraid. You already know this. I think my fear has calmed down more now, more so than when I spoke about it on the podcast. So I'm not as afraid, but the fear is still kind of there. I don't know how I will react. I don't know how I'm going to react, even though I could hear them and feel them and have conversation. So for me, connecting with someone from the other side, it's still just that. It's like if I'm speaking to you and I'll just tell them, like, I don't like this. I tell them, I set up my boundaries is what I really do. You're able to set up boundaries when it comes to spirit. And for the most part, they will listen to you.
So can I ask, do you get messages for random people? Like you're just walking down the street and you hear something and you have to stop somebody to give them a message? Does that happen like that to you?
That has only happened to me. Well, it's happened to me a couple of times, but I have learned and was told that I do not have to give anyone any messages if I don't want to. Because let's face it, there's a lot of skeptical people out there. They may not want to receive the message. They may be afraid of the message. They may think, I'm going to tell them something terrible is going to happen to them. So a lot of people, they don't even want to go there. But it did happen to me one time at a Sephora. And I was trying to get the attention of one makeup artist, like salesperson, to help me choose like a concealer or something like that. And I tried my best, and she just wouldn't, like, she wasn't acknowledging me as many times as I waved at her and I called her. And then all of a sudden, this other girl comes and she asked me, how can I help you? And the minute that she opened her mouth, I want to say, like, she started speaking to me, I started getting messages for her. So then, the more that I engaged with her, I just felt like they just kept pushing. It was like, spirit has a way. They keep telling you, no, you absolutely have to tell her this. You have to tell her this. And at the time, she was going through something major with, like, her boyfriend. Mm-hmm. And so I decided, you know what, I'm gonna give her this message. So I just had to, pull her over to the side and say, my name is Cindy. I'm a psychic medium, and spirit's really on me to deliver this to you. So may I give you this message? And she told me yes. So I gave it to her. And then she grabs my hand and, like, takes me to the other side of the store to a very, like, like in solitude, like in a very solitary place, so that she can ask me all these questions. She was freaking out. Like, everything that I said to her resonated. So wow. I'm going to say it was just that one time, but, she got emotional and everything. And I said, this is why it's very difficult to just, come out and tell someone, hey, I have something for you, because some people, they're not going to be open to receive that message. So as much as you see it on TV, a lot of us, we don't go there.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's like a big fear of rejection and feeling dumb, and you set boundaries for spirit, but you don't want to push other people's boundaries as well. So I'm sure it's a very fine line.
Right. It's, it's respect. You're also respecting that person. Somebody may say to you, hey, I have something to tell you. And they'll say, I really don't want to hear it. And you just have to be okay with that. Not take it personal either.
Yeah. So tell me a little bit about how long you've been doing this and how you got into it, because it's so funny. When I started listening to your podcast, your voice to me sounds as though, like, I'm not telling you sound like an old lady, but you don't sound like the beautiful, like, young woman that you are. And when I saw your picture and started following you on Instagram and stuff, I was like, oh my God, I literally thought that Cindy Vega was like this really powerful, insightful, like 50-year-old woman. But you're not. So I mean, how long have you been doing this, and what's your story of how you got into it?
Whew. It's been a long road, but I've always experienced spirit since I was a child, since I was young. I want to say the first experience that I had with spirit was like an out-of-body experience when I was about 5 years old. From there, when that occurred, I didn't really think anything of it, because as a child too, it's a lot of times if you speak out on it, my family, they would be like, no, that didn't really happen, so they help in shutting that down, that side of you down. But as time went on, like, when I started school, when I was in elementary school, I was able to see, other classmates' auras. And I didn't speak about it because to me it was normal. I felt like everybody could see an aura, so it was no big deal. And then as time went on, I experienced, death in the family, and I always had like certain questions. There was always a curiosity. And I grew up Catholic. But at the time as well, every time I would go to church, I felt like something was still missing. Something is still missing. Something is still missing. And spirit just kept on. Like, there was just so many experiences. I'm not going to get into every single one on here, but I experienced so much that it got to the point where I finally met someone that understood, that I felt comfortable enough to express this to, who directed me to take psychic development classes. That I've never heard of these classes. So I was like, I don't know what this is. But to her, she figured I would meet other people that were experiencing things that I have experienced like my whole life. And it was in that class that I actually met Khalees. And we became friends at that class. We would, it was like at the same time. It took me 3 years to start these classes as well. And her too. There was like a timing. And then we finally met in that class. And that was back in 2010. So it's been about almost 10 years now that I have developed my gift, and I've been using it ever since. So yeah, so it's been about 10 years we've been doing this work. So,
do you think, in your opinion, is that something that everybody has that they can learn to tap into, or is it something that you think certain people are gifted?
From what I understand, it's about 85% of the world has, a psychic gift or a spiritual gift, I want to say, but it's really, I just feel that there's a lot of people afraid of it, or a lot of people doubt it. It's the same way how you can get, your gut can tell you one thing and you go with ego. Well, ego's telling you no. Like that's not really happening. And then you decide to go with ego, whatever it is that ego directed you to. And then you realize I should have went with my gut. Your intuition is like a superpower. It really is. And the more that you connect with that, the more that you develop a relationship with it, it will guide you. And for me, it's never wrong. It's never wrong. At the same time, spirit is trying all the time to give you direction or give you signs. And I want to say also, I have to say this because I always say this, but if you're someone who believes in spirit as well, like, you would need to ask them for help. It's not like they just, decide to do it for you. If you don't ask, they won't intervene. That's the other thing that I just want to point that out when it comes to them. So when it comes to your intuition and spirit, yes, I do feel that the majority of us do have that gift. It's just that some of us, decide not to develop it, or we feel like, well, I don't think this is really happening. So we just, dismiss it. But yes, I do believe that most of us have a gift of some sort.
So this week, there's a couple of topics I want to touch on that we haven't really explored yet. And, there's just questions that I ask myself all the time. I would love to know, first of all, the afterlife. Do you have any idea, like, what that really looks like, what that feels like for them? And I know that you don't really connect, like, visually, but do you have any idea of how it would look or it would feel being there?
I know as far as transitioning, I always feel that, whatever, that it always comes back to love. I'm just going to start there. I do feel that the love that you have while you're on the earth plane does go with you. I also feel like when people are always speaking about, those that have near-death experiences, that they speak about the white light, there's always like a white light. I believe that, we actually pass through that white light because it's healing for us, especially with things that you may experience here. I do believe that there are life contracts where we decide, what it is that we're going to learn while we're here. And I do, believe that once we transition and we're on the other side, that they do play that back for us. It's like, I do believe that, we sit there and they'll show us like what we've gone through, what we have learned, what we didn't learn. And yes, I do feel that there is a lot of love on that side and a lot of healing. That's what it looks like for me. And I do also believe that even though someone in your family may transition, that by the time you transition, they can have also reincarnated and are back on the earth plane. So you may not always be greeted by those that you wish to be greeted by because they decided to come back.
I don't like that. That makes me
I know. I know. Nobody likes that, but you will reconnect at some point. Like, so yeah.
That's exactly what I was going to ask you about that, about reincarnation. And when we choose it. It almost feels to me like defending your life. Have you ever seen that? I have that same kind of feeling. And that's honestly, Cindy, that's how I root myself, is in love. I think that is the most powerful thing we have. I always say love is my superpower. That's the greatest thing that we can be and gift to the world.
Yes, absolutely. I feel like it always comes back to that.
Yep.
It always comes back to that. It always comes back to love. I want to say this one thing that I did experience where I hadn't reconnected with someone I went to high school with. And I received a call one day and they told me, hey, do you remember so-and-so? He's on his deathbed. And I couldn't believe it. So I said, where is he? What hospital is he in? And, I went over there the very next day. I went to the hospital. And the minute he saw me, even though I hadn't seen him in almost 30 years, and we were very close in high school, the minute he saw me, he got all emotional. He couldn't speak. And I don't know where it came from, but I just took his hand and I said, hey, the love doesn't go anywhere. It's fine. The love doesn't go anywhere. For some reason, I just had to say that to him. And he passed the next morning. But it was like, I felt like they put me there in that position at that time to let him know this, because it is something I do believe in. It always comes back to love, and we take it with us. Yep. So I just felt like he needed to hear that. So yeah, spirit has its way.
And speaking of love, one of, a fairy tale a lot of us like to tell ourselves is that we all have a soulmate. And I know that different people, especially professional, spiritual individuals like yourself, have different opinions on what soulmates mean. It doesn't need to be your husband or your wife. What is your definition of a soulmate, and what are they real?
A soulmate. My definition of a soulmate is that it's not always romantic. I think that we do, walk around, and we do say, I need to meet my soulmate. I need to meet my soulmate. And the majority of the time, it's not always romantic. It can be your neighbor. It can be your aunt. It can be your dog. It can be a pet. That's actually your soulmate. For me, that person does show up or is in your life to help you, either through whatever experience you're having at the time. Sometimes they start at the very beginning and they go all the way with you to the end. Sometimes they come in at specific times in your life where you can be struggling. You can be struggling with finding love, let's say. You can be struggling with, you're having a hard time because of work, whatever the case is, and you're taking it very, very, hard. You're being very hard on yourself. And then all of a sudden somebody comes in and they change your whole perspective, and then they just leave. It really depends. So it can be either way. It's just that everyone, and I know because one of my most popular readings is giving the love readings. Everyone wants to know about relationship. Everyone wants to know, where's this, where's that? And the majority of the people that do this, unfortunately, is us women. But it also has a lot to do because, we limit ourselves and we feel like our clock is ticking. I want to have a family. I want to have this. So we hold on to that a soulmate is just romantic, but it's really not. It can be anyone that's just there to help you along the way. Your best friend, like I said, it can be anyone. That's my definition of soulmate. Yeah, that's what I could say about that.
Like they said in Sex and the City, there's a line somewhere in Sex and the City where one of the women are like, you guys are my soulmates. And it was, but it was true.
Yeah, I believe that. It's not always romantic. It's not to say that your soulmate isn't a romantic partner or you can't fall in love with your soulmate. Absolutely you can. But I really feel that you have to be open to the idea that it may not be in that way that a soulmate will enter your life, because you can have several. It's not just like one either. You can have several.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's kind of an attitude that we embrace the older we get also. That's kind of like the fairy tale. When you're younger, you have this idea. I've been getting a lot of unsolicited love advice lately.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Weird for me. That's usually, I'm not one of those females that's like, tell me about my love life. But I think maybe do you think there's something to be said about being open to it? Like people always say, if you're looking for it, you're not going to find it. But at the same time, being receptive and kind of putting out into the universe what you want specifically. Some people makes a difference. What do you think?
Right.
You stand on that.
You can absolutely have conversation with, the universe or your guides and be like, hey, this is what I'm looking for and this is what I'd like. But then it's like, let it go. Tell them what it is that you'd like to have and just be open to receive it, but don't, hold on to it so much, or, the thought of what you think, your love should look like, or because sometimes you'll be surprised. It's not what you were looking for the entire time. And here it is. But it's really about letting go of control as well, because then you're actually trusting in the universe. You're actually trusting in her to deliver what it is that, you want. And a lot of times, though, you may want something and she's like, well, you don't need that, because what you want isn't always what you need. So you just have to really trust in the process. And I know that there's a lot of people that want to control the outcome of things. And I get that. But it really is about letting go of control and just trusting that, what's best for you will arrive. You just have to be open to it.
That's me.
So
that's my cross to bear. Want to control over the outcome. And it's funny because when I was younger, and so I've been getting readings since like I was really young. My mom would take me for fun. And then as I got older, I really was like, okay, I want to find the real deal. I want to find, a real professional, something that I can really, once I started losing people, even grandparents, I was like, okay, I really want to find someone that can like pull out a name, that can show me that this is real and not just like a fun thing that I can do with my mom. And I did, like, I found so many people. But what's interesting about, Sari is that she has almost, so many of the people we've had on the show have said things to her about her love life. And I don't go to readings and be like, oh, tell me about my love life, but I used to do that. And so for me, it's like, okay, now I just ask, I'm like, so anything, nothing, still? Okay. And they're like, no, we want to focus more on this with you. And Sari, it's like the opposite. They want to focus on the stuff that maybe like you don't necessarily want or think you need right now.
That was not always the case with me. That's so funny, is that I'm the opposite. I'm like, I love, my life is very full. The people in my life I love. I'm not looking, I'm not searching. I love my job. I love my family. I love my friends. Health is number one. And maybe, I don't know, maybe that's why there was kind of a lesson in that, where there was like last year, I decided, gosh, that's an area of my life that I kind of put on hold for a little bit, just not even thinking about it. I just knew that my life was full and I didn't need anything more, I didn't need anything to distract and I started to open up to it. But what I put out into the universe was not very specific. So I was just like, I'm open to it. And then it was like, just like a vortex open. It was just no matches, just
wow, yeah.
Start, a little bit of a reminder of like, okay, it exists, but yeah, so I don't know, Sam. I don't know. What do you think, Cindy? Maybe Sam needs a love life. Sam needs a love reading.
I don't know. I just feel like a lot of times you may ask for a reading, let's say, or someone will just start giving you messages. And most times Spirit is going to speak to you on things that they feel is most important at that moment. So, you could want to hear about, something else, like I want to hear about my career and my health. Well, hold on a second, because we need to tell you about this person that's coming in, or, this person that you just met. And it's just like, you just got to let that, you just got to just accept the message. And then,
Yep.
It's just, they just have a funny way.
Something I've also always been fascinated with is soul groups. I don't know if there's other words for it. My dad has passed, but when I was younger, we would talk about death and stuff and the afterlife. And he was always super fascinated by it. And he would say things to me like, no, like we're all in the same soul group, but maybe in a past life, you could have been my mother. Or, and he would say all these different scenarios, and like, how does that work exactly? And, are soul groups necessarily just your blood family, or does it go beyond that?
Right. No, I always believe that it's more than just your immediate family, let's say, or the, family members. I do believe that we do choose like our soul groups or our soul families. So the way that you were speaking with your dad, like you could have been my mom or you could have been my sister. Yes, I do believe that, especially when it comes to the past life. You could have absolutely had a relationship with your dad where it was like, a brother and sister or an uncle or and a niece or whatever the relationship was, and then you decided when you came into this life, okay, so now you're coming in as my dad and you'll be my daughter. I do believe that but what I also like to tell people is that although we may choose our soul groups in this life or our soul family, and which can also be friends, you can be have a best friend that you've grown up with, that's always been there the entire time, and she could have been a relative of yours in a past life, and now she just she entered now to be your best friend during this time, during this journey. But I do believe, like what I always say as well, is just because we choose our our members before we get here does not mean that we have to keep them. So a lot of times, that could come down to family as well, where you're not getting along with, that aunt, no matter what you do. And you decide, I need to put in space. Like, I don't need to be around her anymore as much as, people think that we need to be just because that's my aunt. It really depends on you and the experience that you're going through, because we're all here to experience and to learn. And that may be a lesson in itself, where you have to, stand up for yourself. That can be part of your journey. Or you have friends that they've been in your life for 30 years. And then one day you have this huge argument, and that's the end. It's the end of, their part in your journey. So yeah, I do believe that we do have choice before we come on the earth plane, before we experience this journey right now.
We talked a little bit about this with Khalees. That's interesting. Just touching a little bit on, because I do think we repeat lessons, like you were saying, there are people that exit at the time that they need to exit, and they might have been in your life for so many years, or they meant this to you. But I think we do need to learn lessons. But we were talking about with Khalees last week, the idea of fate and free will. Where do you stand on that?
Oh, fate. You mean like when you're destined for something, or it's something supposed to happen?
Right. Like, do you think things are fated, or do you think it's really our choice, our decision? We're the ones that learn the lessons and get to decide when we move on, or is that something that's written in the stars, so to speak?
I feel that as far as say a lesson, I do feel that we are, that it is fate, like it is our fate to learn it at some point. And if you don't learn it in one situation, it will be rerouted in a different situation. It's almost like it keeps being brought up so that you can learn that. But I absolutely believe in the power of free will. I don't think anyone can really, because we're the ones making all the choices. We're making all our decisions along the way, whether, you want to stay in that relationship, whether you want to leave that job, whether you want to get, go check yourself out as far as your health. It's all on us. It's all on us, I feel. So the power of free will, to me, yeah, it has a lot to do with it. But there are certain things that you specifically wanted to learn when you got here. And if a scenario pops up and you don't learn it then, I know spirit, and they'll bring it up a different way, because what they're trying to do is to help you actually learn that lesson, so that you don't keep, repeating the same scenario. You know how, like, you have a friend that'll say, I keep attracting the same type of guy, but you're still doing, you're still making the same choices with, it's like the same guy keeps popping up in a different form. He just looks different, but it's like the same situation, because you're not, really focused on learning what it is that you need to learn at that time. So that's how I feel about that.
I know this is kind of like a silly way to think, but let's say, you make all of the right choices. You're supposed to take a right on the road, you take a right. You're supposed to take a left, you take a left. You do things, you learn your lessons. And then by the time, you're like in your 40s, you've done everything that your soul contract has asked you to do. Does that mean that, like, you're not going to live a long life then? And if you don't have anything left to learn, or do you always have things left to learn? Because, sometimes when people are taken so tragically from us, sometimes it's like, wow, like that song, like, only the good die young, is that, that's a that is a fear of, I mean, I think I have a lot more shit to figure out. Like, hopefully I'll be good. But you know what I'm saying? It's kind of this fear, like, oh, if you're perfect and you do everything right and you learn what you're supposed to do and you boom, 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 great life student, then is your life just over?
Well, again, I do feel like that's also part of the life contract, where you pretty much know around the time that you're going to check out. You may not remember when it is that you're going to transition or when the time comes, but the majority of the time it will be because you've already learned what it is that you came here to learn with those experiences. So once you've learned it, it's like, you know, and unfortunately, sometimes you're yanked. You're just like yanked. It just happens, like something tragic. Or, you know, it's like overnight, or you were fine yesterday, and then, you know, you go to sleep and you don't wake up. Those types of things, I believe it was already our choice as far as, you know, when we want it to go. It's the same way how you can have a near-death experience where, you know, it's like you want to go, but they don't let you go because you haven't learned what it is that you came here to learn. So, you know, there's a lot of different views with that, but I do believe the majority of the time, that it can be that we've already learned what it is that we came here to learn. Even when it's like, you know, as young as 20, unfortunately, you know, you could have came here to learn one thing. You know, I just want to learn this because I didn't learn it in, you know, in that last life. It can be, you know, it could come down to that. So it's harder on us. It's very hard on us, but it just, you know, it's just like the choices that we made before we got here. I feel like, yeah, I feel like it is written. It is written like in the book of life, I want to say. Yeah.
I feel like I always have had this feeling, you know, when you do crossover, there's this familiarity of like, oh, I remember this. That's right. I've been here.
Yeah.
I chose this. How do you guide people through something like that? I mean, Sam was talking about messages before, and obviously we've all lost people that we love, and we all want to hear messages, or we all want to understand. What are some things you can maybe advise people on who aren't getting the messages that they want, or don't recognize the messages that they want to hear?
Well, my thing is too, is that when you do go for a reading, majority of clients, let's say, even myself, I've been there, where I will go for a reading for myself because, you know, just because I'm psychic medium doesn't mean that I have all the answers for me. So I always go usually for confirmation. And there have been times that I go for a reading and I just want somebody to tell me, you know, like I'm right about this, or I'm right about, you know, I'm wrong about that. And you're looking for that. You're looking to hear what you want. You're looking, and I bring up relationship again because it's always a big thing. Like you're looking for someone to tell you, this is the one for you. And if they turn around and tell you it's not, you know, you get all in your feelings, or you get like, you're devastated. You just, you know what I'm saying? And it's hard to hear that. It's hard to hear that. It's the same way that I feel like when, you know, there are certain psychics out there that'll give you a message that, you know, it's a little tragic, or, you know, this can happen to you, or that can happen to you. And for me, I always go into giving readings or messages and I'll ask spirit, you know, can you just give me the most positive, enlightening messages for this person, whatever it may be. I always try to go into it that way. So I do my best to try to tell that person that I'm reading to just have an open mind, have an open mind as well. Just because you're sitting there and you want to hear something, they may have something else that they need to say to you that you never even thought of. And now it's, you know, it's like an epiphany, or a light bulb will go off like, oh yeah, now this makes sense, or that makes sense. Just have an open mind to spirit. Don't be so quick to shut them down.
Yeah. And I'm going to share something with you guys in the audience that it's a little personal, and it happened to me when I was 19. I just got out here to LA to go to USC for college, and I was in Santa Monica with my roommate, and we were shopping, and there was a guy on the street in literally like a cardboard box, you know. I mean, he probably was homeless, and I probably shouldn't have taken what he said to me at face value. But, you know, it was like $10 for a reading or something. So I go, oh, yes, like I love readings. I'm going to give this guy $10. And I remember too, because it was right before I went into H&M. I can never like see H&M the same way. He said to me, he's like, you're going to kill yourself one day. And I was like, what? And he saw that I looked like I was about to cry. And he goes, no. I'm not saying you're going to, but you have the ability to. Some people don't have the ability to just like do that, but you do if you wanted to. And I like called my mom crying. I was so upset, you know, and it's like, who knows if that man, you know, and I was so young and impressionable, and I was like, I would never do that, you know, and it was so scary. So it's like, how do you also kind of guide people on messages and, you know, and trust who to go to, obviously, but, you know, when they get messages like that, because I don't know, do you ever get messages that you're like, I'm not going to say that, I'm not going to tell that person something like that?
To be honest, I have not experienced that as of yet, where they give me something dark like that. You know, it could be, I mean, the darkest thing would probably be, hey, you know, you really have to watch your diet right now because it can lead to like something really dangerous. That's probably the darkest. Something like that, like, I mean, you told me that just now and I'm like, what? He said what to you? Like, yeah, no. I don't, I'm, you know, there's always going to be, I understand, hold on. I understand good with the bad. I understand that, you know, you may get messages from certain people that are not going to always be in the light, I want to say. But my advice is always, for me, I always go to someone that's referred to me, or a lot of times, and I will say this too, because sometimes you can go to like, say, a storefront, you know, there's like a psychic and, hey, come in, and you go in there and they'll start to tell you, you know, you have a curse on you, or somebody did something really bad to you. And a lot of times, even though that person can be gifted, they take advantage of that gift. And then they'll tell you, I can remove that for you. Pay me $200 and I'll take care of it. And a lot of us fall into that. We fall into that. So the majority of the time, I would tell people, whoever asks me, you know, you need to find someone that you be able to trust, or somebody that's being referred to you that, you know, one of your friends or somebody's had a reading from. And that's usually the best route to take. You really have to, again, that's why it comes down to your intuition too. Like, you have to, again, really trust in that, because it won't, you know, it won't steer you wrong. So just because that gentleman said, hey, you have the ability to, you know, kill yourself, at the time, you know, anybody's going to freak out. Like, oh my God, you know, like, I'm going to do this to myself. Now you're thinking the worst of yourself. These are things that you have to, you know, you best. So you really have to just take the time to be like, hold on a second, like, no, and take it kind of with a grain of salt. That's how I feel. It's really up to you how you receive that energy from that person that's giving you a message.
That's what I was actually going to ask you about, differentiating energy. Like that's something that I think I've gotten very good at over the years, Sam, like with just meeting people and being able to get a read on their energy. So you kind of have an idea who they're going to be in your life, or how you're going to let them in. And you don't have to necessarily cut them out or be mean, but you know kind of how to protect yourself. What are some tips you can give people when it comes to reading energy and being able to set boundaries with people?
Trust your gut, ladies and gentlemen. Energy is real. First of all, let's start there. Energy is definitely real. You know what it's like to walk into a room, let's say, and you can just observe and kind of feel like, there's something about this person. For me, again, it's like energy, you know, doesn't lie. I'm sorry, ladies. There's like a fire truck passing by, so I hope you can hear me.
Okay. Earlier, I think I heard like maybe gunshots or something. I'm not even kidding.
Wow. Okay.
The world is in disarray. It's understood.
So for me, again, I do feel that you have to trust yourself and what it is that you feel. And you should definitely take it upon yourself to set up any boundaries that, you know, when you meet someone that, you know, there's just something about this person. We don't have to be, let's say, heroes, or we don't have to be nice to everyone, or, you know, you really have to protect you, like your space, your energy, your aura, your soul, I want to say. So I do feel that tips on that. I know for me, I like to call on the white light of protection, which is some, you know, when you meditate and you actually call source and you kind of picture yourself in like a white bubble, that always helps as well, especially when you're going into a place where there's going to be a lot of people. You can also go in and have a conversation with your guides, like, you know, set the intention. I'm going into this place. So if there's anything, about someone that's not so good and I'm not seeing it right away, help me see that as well, because sometimes you don't feel it and you can meet someone that's not exactly good for you. So it's totally okay to set your intentions or go into it that way, because you should be protective of yourself and your space.
And I wanted you to talk a little bit about seances, because I know that's something that you do. What would you even define as a seance? Because we know the movie term seance and what that looks like in movies and TV, but what is it really, and how do you continue to protect yourself? Because seance for some reason has some kind of a negative connotation to it. I feel sometimes that it can be kind of scary. So, but I don't really know much about it. So what can you tell us about it?
Oh, okay. Well, I've been to several seances. We've actually held a seance circle, Khalees and I, as well before. Usually it's that. It's like, you enter a room, you sit like in a circle and you set intention with spirit. Some people light candles. Some people play meditative music, because you do set it off with like a nice group meditation. And then what you're doing is you're opening yourself up to spirit so that spirit can come through and give messages. And usually you have what they call a seance conductor. So there is that one person that's actually leading this. And actually, the meditation is to provide a positive circle, like, that positive energy. So that way you're only inviting those spirits again that are going to come in with, great messages for people or whatever the case is. So it's not, you can't really just go by the movies or what you see on TV. It really can be a positive experience. My first seance was at the very same school that I took the psychic development classes in. And, I walked in there like a little nervous because of what I've watched on TV and what I've seen. But, I was told by someone, it's really positive. It's really cool. Just come and check it out. And I went in and I actually connected with like, my grandfather actually came through. I was the first person they had a message for. It was like 25 of us in that room. And he kind of like pushed his way through and he came through, and I had never met him. And he came through and he starts to tell me about my gift. And again, this is what led up to me taking the psychic development classes, because he came through and said that I had the gift, that I had to really, put more attention into that it was going to help me along my way and he'd be able to connect with me. So there are so many positive experiences that can come out from a seance. It's not all negative, which is really my main point as far as seances, because you are connecting with spirit and that, you can feel it. You can feel the energy in the room. It can get pretty cold. You can hear things. You can see things. There's a lot of energy that comes in with the seance, but it's not always negative. It's not always negative. For me, it's pretty positive.
I want to hear more about your gifts, like some of the things that you do specifically, and the way, like, what do you really love doing? And what are some of the ways that you've been able to help people to really change their lives?
When I give readings, I do it via psychometry, which is actually holding an object where you actually read the energy from that person. Spirit will give me that person's story, like in my, my third eye, let's say. I do it that way. I do use cards at times, sometimes as well. It's another tool. I can use a pendulum, that gives you answers, that answers yes or no. I have been told that I can channel, which I'm thinking about studying. I haven't done it yet, where I can channel spirit. I think we kind of already channel, but on a more deeper level, where you're actually letting another spirit really speak through you. There's table tipping that I've done as well, where you ask spirit to move the table. They will lift it off its legs. I've done that. There's just several ways that I have actually connected with spirit. But really the main way is, sitting with someone or over, just like this, like over Zoom or FaceTime or Skype, and, just delivering those messages to them. So, and I don't even really have to use anything, to be honest. They just speak to me and I just give you the message.
Well, I was hoping that maybe Sari and I could be so lucky to maybe get a couple messages from you for ourselves. And so our audience can kind of be witness to it too, because we did a little last week. And just for me as a listener of podcasts and shows like this. I always like seeing readings and what comes up that's different. So would you be open to that?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
I can give you what they've already been telling me the entire time that I speak.
Yes, please. Yeah.
So do you want me to start with either one of you, or Sari, or
whatever you feel? Yeah.
what they have been speaking up for you, Sari, is I kind of feel like you have some decisions that you need to make. And if you're not in that position, it is coming up for you. It feels life-changing. It feels life-changing. It may change your entire direction. But it's not, in the most, in a bad way. I actually feel very excited about it, very positive about it. I kind of feel like it has to do with your career. And what they're saying is for you, just feels like opportunities being presented to you. And if it's not, again, it feels very near where it's going to show up. And what they're saying is like, just take a minute, like don't rush into anything. They want you to actually stop and think before you jump, because it feels like it's exactly what you're looking for. It's like the perfect package, but there may be things there that you're not going to want. So they're telling you, hold on, just pause, just take a second. I keep saying them, just how to slow down. So they want you to actually sit with that opportunity, sit with that decision that you'll have to make. And they also want you to be more open to receive. And that comes up as well, because it's like they're trying to give you more. They're trying to bring these wonderful blessings to you. But there's times that you're not completely open to it. And you're not even probably aware of this. But it's just things that you think and things that you're saying that are preventing that from coming in. But when it comes to this opportunity, I feel that it's like right around the corner. If it's not already happening, it's coming. But it has to do with your career, and it's bigger than what you think, actually. Yeah. So that's what they're giving me for you.
Oh. That's exciting. I'm all excited now.
Yeah, it feels really, really good and very positive. And they're also showing me right now, they're showing it to me. It's like you've been walking, you're on the right track, you're on the right path, but it seems to be widening up. Mm-hmm. So this is why I feel like there's a lot of opportunity coming your way. And they just want you to be ready to receive it. So that's why they're like, she has to be a little bit more open. It's almost like, well, I am open. It's a little more. It's almost like certain things that are holding you back. That are holding you back from actually fully receiving. It's about being more present too. Like you have to be a little bit more present right now. And see how the world is, like they just paused us. They're pausing us for a reason. As far as the collective, it's like a huge lesson on self-awareness. So right now it's really about you. Like, let me just stay right here where I am and not think so much about what's to come. Because the lesson for you and that transitional period that's already occurring is happening right now. They just don't want you to miss anything. I also feel like they've been giving you signs though. They've been trying to give you a few things here and there, and some things you're like, oh, yep, that's for me. But then there's some things like, is that really for me? Yes, it's for you. They're doing their best. And they're saying that if you need more clarity, just ask for it and they will deliver it to you. They will deliver that to you. And what else they're telling me? Hold on, I'm sorry. They're just chiming in a lot right now. You can actually do that as well before you go to sleep, because that's like the best way for them to connect with you. So I would take notes of whatever it is that you get as soon, and if you're one that doesn't remember your dreams, you can ask them again and they will help you remember.
I'm big in dreams. I've actually had, this is probably for another podcast, but that's when I tune in, is in my dreams.
Ah, that's great, because they want to give you a lot. It's like, there's a lot coming. There's a lot coming. So I just want to tell you that. And it looks very bright. It looks very positive. So
thank you.
I hope I can leave that with you, but that's your messages.
Thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. And Sam. Okay. So with Sam, I'm hearing, even though you're one to actually help as much as you can other people, they're telling you to give back more to yourself. Start giving more to yourself as well, because you give out. It's like you constantly give out, like you try to help others, but also get into the position where you're giving without expectation. You're giving without expectation. Understand that it's coming from like a place of love, a place of connection. I want to help you. I want to do this, but without expecting things in return. They said not to even worry about that. Hold that lightly. Just give because you want to give. What comes up as well too is that it's okay to say no. It's okay to say no. So if you haven't been in that space, this is what comes up. Like, it's okay to be like, you know what, this doesn't feel good to me. I'm not doing it. As opposed to just like pleasing that person, or you want to be that great friend, or that, that great, daughter, or whatever the case is. It's okay to put yourself first. So they want you to actually start putting more energy into you in that sense. Like, it's okay to be selflessly selfish is what I like to call it, where it's okay where you don't feel guilt, or you're making a decision because you feel bad. No, I have to do this because I said, I would help them, even though it doesn't resonate for you or it doesn't feel good for you. It's okay to set that up, those kind of boundaries. That's what comes up. They're also talking about you going through a detox. And what I mean is like physical, emotional, spiritual. You have to take more care of yourself. This is what's coming up as well. I know we're going through a pandemic, but these are things that they're showing me. They're showing me like a spa. They're showing me like massage. They're showing me like things that actually make you feel good. Things that, will get you to a more higher vibration, I want to say, where the more that you vibe high, the more it comes in for you as well. When it comes to your career, that comes up as well. There's also opportunity coming for you, but your block is not taking better care of you. I almost feel like you have to put more energy into yourself so that can open up for you. Okay. Besides this, do you have like your own like YouTube channel? Do you do anything with what you do as outside of this? Because yeah.
I did. I had a job that I got laid off of, unfortunately, and the US division was shut down. But yeah, I am an entertainment news journalist still. So yeah, there's, YouTube, like I have hundreds of videos and stuff online.
Yeah, I kind of feel like it's like you have to get back into that. Like, that's going to come back around. That's going to come back around because it is meant for you to just really be out there. There's just something about you and really being out there. It's like the spotlight, it's like that. Like, it has to be her. Like, you connect very well with other people, like when you do your interviews and things like that. There's just something about you that should be more shared with the world. But this is what they were showing me. It's like, like YouTube, like connecting with people. So the more that you take care of you, the more that you put more energy into yourself, the more you're going to attract that. You're going to attract just that. Because there is opportunity for you as well, but it's just like, it's the energy. You have to turn it around. It's like you have to turn it around. It's like you're much more out than you are in. Mm-hmm. So they want you to kind of focus more on you on the inside.
Yeah.
Let me see what else they're giving for me as well. Do you have like a red car? There's something with a red car with you as well.
Red car was my first car, but it's Fireball was the name.
There's something with a red car with you. So I'm not sure, like, if you were going through something at that time, or you were experiencing things when you own that car, as far as emotionally, I want to say, but I just feel like there's some healing that needs to be done within you as well. Mm-hmm. You have some things in there that you need to work on. It's like certain triggers still come up. That's what it feels like. Like, it's like, it makes you think about a certain time. Yeah. That's what they're talking about as well, where you have to actually tap into that and heal through that, because what they're showing me too is that you're carrying certain weight from like your past that it's time to let go of. It's time to let go of, because all it's doing is holding you back from flying.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So yeah, it's about that time. They're saying like, it's about that time that you work through that, because there's so much more coming for you and you don't need to carry that. Yeah. You don't need to carry that. So that's what I have for you.
Thank you so much. That makes, you have no idea how much sense that really makes, really. And I'm sure Sari's like, yep.
I feel lighter after talking to you. I feel just good and energized, and I'm so happy we got to do this. I'm so happy I got to know you.
Me too.
Thank you. I'm so honored that you guys, reached out to me. You have no idea. I love this very much. I'm very happy for you guys, and I hope, this podcast really takes off for you.
Thank you. And so for those listening and watching and that maybe want to book a service from you, tell us a little bit about like what you offer. You have a great website, and where they can find you.
Yeah, you can find me at www.readingsbycin.com. It's also the same name on Instagram. I go by Readings by Sin. I do a segment called Café con Sin, Coffee with Sin, Monday through Friday at 10 a.m. Eastern Time. I also do a happy hour. I have to say this because my daughter is actually a psychic medium as well. And I do like a happy hour on Friday nights with her. We do it from like 8 to 9 p.m. Eastern Time, where we give people free 1-card readings. And we've been doing it this entire time that we've been under quarantine, just trying to uplift people, and it's been great. So same thing, Readings by Sin, at Readings by Sin on IG.
Oh, good. And of course, your podcast, which I love.
Yeah, and it's The Third Eye Mind. At The Third Eye Mind is our page. We're on iTunes and we're on Google Play as well. We actually just released the second episode for season 2, which is on Signs from Spirit. Mm-hmm. So if you want to know a bit more about that, that's where to find that. And if you want to check out the rest of the, our other episodes, it's on there as well. The Third Eye Mind Show on iTunes and Google Play.
Yeah, it was really cool. I actually got a message from one of our listeners the other day that watched the Khalees episode and was really struggling to find a sign from her father who had passed. And then once she listened to Khalees and heard what she had to say about finding signs, she also listened to your guys' episode on that and started receiving signs from her dad after.
That's amazing.
Yeah, so it was really cool. Well, thank you again for joining us. Please stay safe. We so much appreciate you. And guys, we appreciate you that are watching. And you can find us, Spiritual Spiral Show. That's our Instagram handle. I'm at SamD43 on Instagram. Sari is at the Savvy Scribbler. And please, if you guys, we're going to have a lot more people on that, are psychics, mediums, and if we'll do readings, and if you guys would like a reading to call into our show sometime, just reach out to me because I would love to help facilitate that. So have an amazing week, Cindy. You are awesome. And if you're ever in LA, please hit us up. We'd love to all get together.
Yeah, would love that. Thank you so much again for having me on. You guys are great.
All right. Bye, everyone. We'll see you next week.